just the good kids to hang out with and the bad kids to hang out with, and I always kind of chose the bad kids, and I found something comforting, or I was curious, you might say, to what made these ones good and these ones bad, or whatever.
All right, Jess.
Yeah.
Jess, where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
I was born in Anaheim, California, North Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a little town called La Habra, just outside of Whittier, which is the LA Orange County line. 2 parents and an older brother. Both my parents have what you would call affliction with some kind of addiction, as long as with my brother, and most of my aunts and uncles and grandparents.
So a lot of addiction in the family?
Definitely.
Yeah. How would you describe your childhood in general?
I in comparison, right, to the stories I've heard, I would say I was blessed. I didn't go without. I had every opportunity in the world that was afforded, I think, most American children. And, I kind of chose my rebel path, and that rebel spirit hasn't always served me. And, I often think about, at 40 years old now, would I change anything? And, I don't know the answer to that question, so.
What kind of teenager were you?
Nervous. I was popular, yet withheld. I was popular with the girls. I liked music, and I used it as a tool to gain popularity. My humor got me a lot of places. I had a huge social circle. My parents, they got sober in my youth, and we started attending a church. And a lot of my social circles came from that church. And so, it was just like any other social circle. It was just the good kids to hang out with and the bad kids to hang out with, and I always kind of chose the bad kids, and I found something comforting, or I was curious, you might say, to what made these ones good and these ones bad, or whatever.
What do you think it was that made the bad ones more attractive?
The girls seemed prettier.
You could always... I could ask the next question, which is, why are the pretty girls attracted to these bad boys? It's funny. I've told this story before in other interviews, but there's an interview I did with a New York City detective and a New York City newspaper reporter,
okay,
who reported on homicides. And he said one of the most fascinating things he ever saw was the visiting hours at the death row inmate section of the prison.
Right.
I think it was Rikers Island, and or jail, or whatever it was. It was some prison in New York, and they had all of these guys that were just in prison for life,
all day.
And the women that showed up to visit were just fine. He said all 10s, every single one of them.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is a trip.
Try to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then you graduate high school?
I didn't. I took something called a proficiency exam. So I was eligible to go to college at 16. I enrolled and attended, maybe 3 months of junior college. And I became, I don't know if it was bored or uninterested, but I started started skipping school, and then one day, my father asked me if I needed a ride to school, and I told him, on the way there, I told him, you know what, I haven't been to school in weeks, and that started, that was the beginning of this real tumultuous relationship with my father, because he had paid for me to go to school and paid for my books and whatnot, and he had every hope in the world for me, and I had lied to him. So I moved out. I moved in with some girls, and I started my journey in this game of drugs, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, I really can't call it anything else. Yeah. Yeah, I've done everything that I thought I wanted to do, and none of it really brought fulfillment.
None of it what?
I've done everything I thought I wanted to do. Right? That you see in the movies, you see, and I thought it would bring fulfillment and happiness, and my experience has been is that it's brought more of a longing, for more, and if that longing is never going to be satisfied, then what's the point, right? So,
It probably takes you down while you're chasing that.
man, I mean, the depths that I've gone, most people wouldn't endure, or most people would learn their mistake. It seems to create a resiliency in me that I can't quite explain.
What are your drugs? What have it,
I mean,
what have been your drugs?
currently, I smoke fentanyl. I take Xanax. Smoke methamphetamine. Those are like a daily thing, along with cigarettes. And then I probably once a week ingest some form of cocaine. Maybe PCP, and then
Everything that's out there, basically.
Huh?
Everything that's out there, basically.
Yeah, and then I've had a more revered experience, especially as I've gotten older, with psychedelics. They seem to be of a different class of drug, and if done with reverence and a little bit of guidance, that they can offer more of a positive experience that might shift some perspective that led me down some wrong paths in the past. So,
where are you living now?
On the street.
No tent or anything like that?
No, fortunately, I technically have a Section 8 voucher. I've seen a building unit. They said this is my unit, right? And I signed a rental agreement. I'm waiting for it to pass an inspection. Fortunately, a lot of my friends, too, have been through that process and are living indoors. And so most of the time, when I sleep, I'm able to sleep at one of their houses.
How often do you sleep?
I try to lay down every night, even for a couple hours, but I don't get a good night's sleep, but twice a week probably.
Twice a week?
Yeah.
That seems crazy.
It's rough on your body.
And your brain, probably.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, what's sad about it is the awareness, right? The awareness of, the negative effects that my lifestyle is having on my, my physical body as well as my mental. And that awareness is, and then continuing to engage in that behavior, it could get depressing.
What is this constant influx of all these various street drugs? What does it do to your health, your sex drive, your
I
your
have
stamina?
sex drive is zero. You
Really?
know, I've undergone a lot of physical. Well, okay, I've had 5 knee surgeries in the past 5 years. You know, I keep getting infections in my legs, and 5 of them were in my knees. So they led to surgeries, and I was told I wasn't going to walk again, and I worked my ass off with a lot of help from the pharmaceutical industry, and was able to get back on my feet. But you know, I'm in no shape to plant my feet and fight somebody. You know, and that's a little scary. You know, where by the fact that I hang out in a place that's pretty violent. You know.
Yeah, very violent.
Yeah.
How do you make money now?
Over the past 6 months, I get by on very little. You know, I pride myself on being an honest person, right? And I've been a very generous person to most people, to people that I care about, and a lot of their grace and their generosity have gotten me by in the last 6 months or so. Before that, I was your run-of-the-mill thief. You know, I stole from stores, and I found that if I took, you know, benzodiazepines like Xanax, or that I didn't have the fear, or it impaired my value system enough to not care whether or not, you know, my Aunt Sally or a woman that I grew up with at church saw me do something that was, you know, was out of my character, right? That I would normally rather not be seen doing, and I don't think it's sustainable. And I've been looking for another means of income, you know. So
it's a shame there isn't like for weight loss now there are these GLP-1 drugs that just solve that problem beautifully.
Yeah.
Really effectively. I've seen people lose 40 pounds in no time.
Sure.
And it's a shame there isn't some shot or drug or something that could fix these addictions.
No, it really is. It is a shame. On the other hand, you know, I've had the gift of sobriety several times, right? I had 3 years sober with my ex-wife, 2 before her, a lot of 60, 96 month stints. And in that space of sobriety, I get to a place of gratitude for the affliction, right? Because I get to experience life in a way, and be grateful for in a way that most people don't, and for that it's cool, you know. But yeah, the suffering I can do without. I could, you know, I could do it.
Do you have hope of getting clean and getting back to a normal
Do I
life?
ever have hope of actually like having permanent recovery?
Yeah, like reintegrating into society.
It's not that I don't have hope. It's I can only go by my experience, right? And my experience has shown me that, like, for a period of time, I can subscribe, you know, and join the community of people that you know, do the whole 12-step thing, and I am so grateful for that community. They've had an enormous impact in my life, and still do. I attend meetings often still, But as far as my ability to join the ranks, I just seem to have not been able to for a lasting period of time. Like I said, I did have some periods of time, but I sponsored people that have a lot more time than I had when I sponsored them.
Right.
So
What's your biggest fear now?
the biggest fear is that I'll continue to live this way, and then I'll eventually lose my legs, and then eventually my kidneys will go out, and I'll be given public housing, and I'll die alone and unhappy.
Which is what happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
In your situation.
Yeah.
How have you changed over all these years of living like this?
How have I changed? I've gotten more cynical, less naive.
Probably more streetwise.
Yeah, right. But I think I learned when I was sober, there's a spiritual act, right, of service to others, right? And regardless of the other person's intentions, if my intentions are pure and I just want to be genuinely helpful or useful, I'm rewarded in some way, even if it's just I feel better about myself today because I did this thing that nobody wanted to do, or was asked of me for some random reason, and that's a characteristic about myself that I'm grateful for, that I've learned into my adulthood. I've gotten more stubborn, I really wish, it's a negative characteristic, right? I really wish I could be more open-minded and less arrogant about spiritual matters. But it doesn't keep me from trying or being willing to be open. I'm willing to be willing.
Mm-hmm. Are you lonely?
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you have children?
I have no children.
And you feel helpless against the addiction ultimately?
Sure. Yeah. I feel like it's something I'm going to have to cope with if I want some level of peace. So when I think of hopelessness, I think of, well, okay, then there's no hope that this would go away or get better, right? And so that's what brings to mind this idea that I might have to just learn to live with it,
What would you say is your greatest strength?
I'm very personable. I'm articulate. I have a way of bringing people together, and I'm funny. This is not a funny conversation, but
No.
I can make people laugh a lot. I play the guitar. I sing. I'm artistic. I feel like I have a good opinion about what good art is. That may sound arrogant, I just do.
You kind of need to have some arrogance if you're going to be an art critic.
Yeah.
What do you wish you had done differently? If you had your life to live all over again, what would you do differently?
I don't know that I would. There are a couple of things that I've done personally to people I love that I wish I hadn't,
That was just the drugs that made you do it?
Yeah. That I wish I didn't do that, or I wish I didn't hurt her, or, but there are no major life choices that I made that dramatically affected my life in general, that I would change. Just because I believe that I am my authentic self in this space, and I wish nothing. I don't want to be anything more than authentic. You know, it would be nice to, you know, have a nice house and, you know, if that included sobriety and a wife and a nice car or whatever, that would be great. But authentic and useful, you know, I think are two things that are important to me, and I try to still exhibit those regardless whether I'm sober or not.
Was there a different life that you had set out for yourself?
Sure. I mean, I don't know if I had like plans, right? Like, or an idea of what it would look like. But I really didn't expect this. You know, I really didn't. And the older I get, you know, and the faster time goes, you know, and the older I watch my family get, and the more I see the world changing in a direction that is unsettling, you know. I don't know. Like I have a little bit of fear. I'm grateful I don't have children. Because there's a little bit of fear about what the future holds for not only Americans but humans in general, and I think that it doesn't have to be that way. You know, I think that humans inherently are good people and have, for the most part, good intention. You know, and not to say that there aren't some out there with bad, but I think that when it comes to the masses, right? I think that people want the best for each other, you know, and that's why it's cool to live in Los Angeles, you know, because there's a lot of love here for people from my demographic.
Let me ask you one last question, Jess. What would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
Honesty. I mean, there's nothing that is you're gonna make worse by being honest.
All right. Jess, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Hey, anytime, man.
I wish you lots of luck out here.
Yeah. Hey.
Thank you. When I was designing the first White Underbelly book, I realized that there were so many great portraits that weren't going to make it into that book. They just wouldn't fit. And once I saw how well that first book sold, I knew I'd have to design a second book. This second book is finally ready to ship. Like the first one, this book has a collection of some of the best portraits from White Underbelly, accompanied by a quote from that person's interview. This book features another group of Rebecca portraits, as well as a collection of color images of the Whitaker family, and plenty of others. You can order yours for $125 or $150 for a signed copy at softwhiteunderbelly.org. Again, like the first book, once this book is sold out, I will not be printing more of them. The portraits are what White Underbelly is all about, and these two books contain the best of all that work. Thank you for watching.